Hi, this is Art, short for Artemy, and you can find me at CUArtist pretty much everywhere. Today I wanted to talk about getting unstuck with writing. Sometimes I don't know where the plot is going, there's a plot hole, or something just feels weird in the next section, and I typically try to step back and just think about it in my downtime while I'm not doing something very important, but that doesn't always work. Ideally, you would be able to talk through it with somebody, but if you don't have artist friends or writer friends, sometimes you don't even know what you would say. You can't identify what the problem is that you're facing. The thing that I like to do, because it gives me a record of what I'm thinking, is I will just take a piece of paper and I will just start writing. It is really helpful for me if I set a timer to start, because I forget I just forget where I am in the story if I was trying to get a fresh look at it. So it's harder to get back in. So if I start a timer for at least 5 minutes, those 5 minutes I will get back into it, and I usually will not stop working on it. A recent example of this is I have a vampire character. She's not the biggest character, so she was pretty underdeveloped, but I was adding in more scenes of her, and it was really hard to write scenes with just her in it because I didn't know what her motivation was. So I had a vague idea of her motivation, but I didn't have it solidly down. So in order to get a better idea of her character in general, I was just like, okay, why did she become a vampire in the first place? Because that's going to give me a lot of insight into who she is as a person. When did she become a vampire? And gradually answering those questions, and I would spitball multiple answers and try to sound out what felt the most right. Eventually I came to a conclusion, and it made her have such a more solid foundation as a character that her scenes were so much easier to write. It's really hard to try and ask questions as if you've never read the story, but I really think that trying to look at it with as fresh of eyes as possible is helpful, because knowing what your audience might be wondering could definitely give you fuel to know what questions to answer or what to leave open-ended for people to decide for themselves. So my personal favorite way to try and work through the plot holes is to do it on paper so I can sift through it pretty easily. But another thing that works pretty well for me is I drive for work a lot, so while I'm in the car, I'll turn on my voice recording and just talk to myself and try to work through the questions that I'm having. And it doesn't always work out, because sometimes I need I need to be able to look at all of the things and I am driving. But that definitely has been pretty helpful for me. It keeps me thinking about the comic, keeps me thinking about what the issues are that I'm trying to get over, and it makes it so that I have a record and I can listen back and see what it was that I was saying. So, yeah, this is what I tend to do when I've gotten really, really stuck on a point in the comic. Sometimes you just need to look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the scene you're trying to wrap your head around just doesn't need to be there. Sometimes it needs to be wholly reworked. So I tend to do this when it feels like I'm starting to just avoid the task at hand. It is really important to get a breakaway and try and look at things with fresh eyes. You get so involved that you don't see what could be fixed. So I do think it is good to step back for a little bit, but this is what I do when I'm okay, I've been putting this off. I need to get through this scene. What are the problems? Write as many questions as you can possibly think of. Just start asking yourself, why does this feel weird to me? What is wrong with this that is causing me problems? And I wish I could give more specific questions to ask yourself, but it really is dependent on what is making you stuck. So just trying to pinpoint those issues, I think, is definitely really helpful. And sometimes you really do just need to talk to somebody, try and talk it through with somebody. Another great option is finding artist communities online. I'm in several webcomic discords, just finding groups of comic artists and trying to chat about your ideas is always really fun and can be really helpful. I hope this was of any help to you if you're stuck in your comic somewhere, and I hope to see you tomorrow.